It's more than 40 years now since Simon was killed, and I still can't turn my mind to thinking about the last half hour of his life. And that's why I think that it's extremely important that the person who killed him should be brought to trial.
Donald Brooke, now and then with his son Simon, not long before his 3-year-old boy was murdered.
The person who killed Simon is very, very disturbed, very sick person indeed. May well do this again.
All those years ago, Donald Brooke might well have been right to fear the killer of his little boy would strike again and again.
And to start from this ridge over here.
There is new evidence about some of Australia's most baffling and horrific cold cases. The Wanda Beach murders of Marianne Schmidt and Christine Sharrock. The 3 Beaumont children, Jane, Anna and Grant, and others.
I knew what I'd seen, and I knew I'd seen him.
All pointing to one man.
Do you believe he abducted the Beaumont children?
Most definitely.
His name is Derek Ernest Percy.
I've never come across a character, a creature like this. He's an utter monster. The question is, of course, what has he done to other children and how many other children? Is he Australia's worst serial child killer?
Growing up, Derek Percy's family moved a lot. His father was distant and domineering, his mother controlling. He went to 5 different schools, spending his teenage years in Mount Beauty in the Victorian Highlands.
He lived in the next street, and I went to school with him for a while, and we became really good friends in the last couple of years before he left school.
Ron Anderson was Percy's mate at school. They played cricket together.
As a mate, you'd think you'd know him pretty well.
Well, I thought I did, yes.
But Ron was soon to learn that Percy was different. When he was 16, he was caught snowdropping, stealing women's underwear and slashing it with a knife. Then there was a sexual assault on 2 6-year-old girls. No charges were laid, but Percy was expelled from school and his family moved again.
So this was all hush-hush?
Yes.
Do you believe that they knew that he was a troubled boy?
Yes.
No one would learn just how troubled Percy was until far too late. At 19, Percy joined the Navy. Other sailors said he was secretive and private. His nickname was the Spook.
He has no empathy. He's a pure and utter psychopath in the true sense of the word.
Investigative journalist Debbie Marshall has spent 5 years tracking Percy's whereabouts at the time of Australia's most infamous child crimes. What emerges is a disturbing pattern of opportunities.
When he was on leave from the Navy, and indeed before he joined the Navy, he took every opportunity to hunt children. That was his pastime.
Debbie believes Percy's first crime happened before he joined the Navy. It was January 1965. Marianne Schmidt and Christine Sharrock were assaulted, mutilated and killed in the now infamous Wanda Beach murders in Sydney. Percy was in Sydney at the time, almost certainly staying with his grandmother.
His grandmother lived at Ryde. The Wanda Beach victims, 2 friends, 15-year-old girls, lived at Ryde. One of the victims' sisters told me and told police at the time that when they were on the train on the way to the beach, a thin-faced young man started chatting to the girls.
The 2 girls were observed in the company of a youth about 16 years of age. They were seen to disappear with that youth into the sand dunes and were not seen after that time.
Percy was 16 years old. Witnesses at the beach that day helped police create this mannequin of the teenage suspect. Ruth Marden also recognises the suspect. She'd seen him in Ryde near where the murdered girls had lived.
This young man used to stand at the doorway flicking his thumb on the open blade of a cutthroat razor. I'll never forget seeing that.
Ruth Marden, who has never spoken publicly before, told police about the teenager. Some years later, she saw a photo of Derek Percy.
I thought, that's definitely him, but he's older. I feel that if the police had listened to me and done something about it when I went there, this is what I keep thinking, some subsequent murders which he may have done wouldn't have happened.
A year after the Wanda Beach murders, Derek Percy is on a family holiday in Adelaide.
There were 3 children seen here, and we're just checking to see whether there's any possibility that they're in here.
On January 26, 1966, the Beaumont children, Jane, who was 9, Anna, 7, and Grant, 4, disappear at Glenelg Beach near Adelaide. A sketch of the prime suspect is strikingly similar to this photo of Percy, who was at the beach at the time.
What I know is that he had the opportunity. He certainly had the motive.
The Beaumont children have never been found. Also that year, Percy took a family holiday to Canberra, where 6-year-old Alan Redstone was murdered. Alan left home to buy an ice cream and never returned. The prime suspect rode a red pushbike. Percy also owned a red pushbike, which he took on holidays. Since the 3 Beaumont children disappeared from Glenelg Beach here in South Australia, since the horrific child murders of Wanda Beach in Sydney, the same question has recurred year after year. Who could do such terrible things?
The person who killed Simon is very, very disturbed, very sick person indeed.
On May 18th, 1968, 3-year-old Simon Brooke was playing in the front yard of his home in Glebe in Sydney. He was last seen walking away with a thin-faced man. At the time of the murder, Percy was based at Garden Island Naval Dockyard, 3 kilometres away.
Imagine a boy as I saw him on Sunday morning 2 weeks ago. A dirty place under the bushes with old newspapers. And this child dead and mutilated with blood on his face.
I've never been so affected by anything as I was in meeting the parents of Simon Brooke. Educated, urbane, a professor, a former dancer. Absolutely, utterly, utterly broken by the murder of a 3-year-old boy.
Debbie Marshall's book on Percy, called Lambs to the Slaughter, has given new hope to Simon's family. Now, a new witness has come forward, one who has never spoken publicly before.
I didn't want to remember it. I just didn't want to remember it. I was just trying to forget it.
Jeff was 10 and living at this orphanage next door to where Simon's body was found, 400 metres from Simon's home. The day before the murder, Jeff saw a man looking into the orphanage.
We could all see him. He was sort of weaving backwards and forwards.
Trying to catch a glimpse of the boys.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the last time you saw this bloke, was it?
No.
The next day, the day of Simon's murder, Jeff says he saw the same man walking past the orphanage hand in hand with a young boy.
How old was the boy, do you think?
Oh, he was only young. He's only a small toddler. I thought that was his son. I thought it was his son, and he was going home.
And do you think that little boy was Simon Brooke?
Without a doubt. Yeah, for sure.
The day after, Simon's body was found on a building site next door.
Did the police speak to you and the other boys?
2 detectives came through with them, and they basically asked us if we'd seen anything. But I was way too scared to talk to them. I didn't want to get in trouble for looking through the holes in the fence or talking about what I'd seen.
Are you certain that you saw Derek Percy?
I seen Derek Percy. I know it was him that I'd seen. Seen him in the weaving between the gates, and I seen him walk by with the young boy who I know today as Simon.
And he had his arm around Yvonne's neck, and he had a knife in the other hand.
He noticed a Navy sticker on the back of the car. There was Percy washing the blood from his clothes.
He's not been convicted of any crime.
We need a grave, we need somewhere that we can say, this was my daughter.
I had to follow the dark heart of Derek Percy, and the more I went into it, the more I realised that I was actually following the life and crimes of our own Hannibal Lecter.
In the 1960s, terrible crimes were happening one after another. 2 girls killed at Wanda Beach near Sydney. A year later, the Beaumont children vanish at Glenelg Beach. Alan Redstone is murdered in Canberra. Then Simon Brooke is killed in Sydney. Derek Percy was in all of these places, and there were more crimes to come.
She loved people. She was just such a happy child, and she loved to talk to everybody.
So would you say that it's conceivable that she would quite happily wander off with somebody?
Yes, yes.
August 1968 at St Kilda's Luna Park, and 7-year-old Linda Stillwell is with her brother Gary, who was 9, in a penny arcade.
I was looking in the machine and kaleidoscopes would change shape, etc. And my sister, I'm quite sure, was standing next to me at that point. And from that point, I looked up and she was gone. And that's the last I remember seeing Linda.
A witness saw a little girl walking away from the arcade with a thin-faced man.
I'd just like to appeal to everybody to, if they've got a paddock or a garage or anything, just to go out and have a look.
At the time Linda Stillwell vanished, Percy was on leave from the Navy and in St Kilda.
And she's always up to mischief, but she's mine and I love her very much.
Linda was never found.
This man appeared from nowhere, and he had his arm around Yvonne's neck, and he had a knife in the other hand.
Less than a year later, in the sleepy seaside village of Warneet in Victoria, a thin-faced man abducts 12-year-old Yvonne Tuohy. Her friend, Shane Spiller, bravely tries to fight him off.
I had a tomahawk in belt, and I got that out with my right hand, and I held up my head as I was going to throw it at him. The man said to me, put that down or else I'll hurt the girl. I just ran for the bush. Even yelling, Shane, help, help, he's going to cut my throat. I didn't answer anything, and I kept running until I got to the main road, and I stood in the road for half a minute, and this car came along, and I stopped them and told the man what happened.
Yvonne was murdered, her body mutilated with the knife. But 11-year-old Shane remembers a crucial detail from the attacker's car.
He noticed, very clever for an 11-year-old, he noticed a Navy sticker on the back of the car. Cerberus Navy Base, where Percy was stationed, was very close to where Yvonne was murdered. So they went to the base, and there was Percy washing the blood from his clothes. He denied all knowledge until finally said, oh yes, well, I was on the beach. And so that was that.
Derek Ernest Percy was arrested for murder and would soon be reunited with an old schoolmate. Ron Anderson had not seen Percy for 5 years. He was now a probationary constable with Victorian Police, and homicide detectives asked him to speak to Percy. Ron has never been interviewed on camera about what happened next.
Derek was sitting on a bed in a cell. He was leaned over sobbing, and I said, hello, Derek. And he looked up and said, hello, Ron. And then he said, looks like I've really f***ed up this time. And I just said, certainly looks that way, Derek.
He said, this time. What did that suggest?
Suggested it wasn't his first time.
What did he say when you mentioned the Beaumont children?
He said he was in Adelaide at the time, and I asked him what he could remember about it, and he said the beach, that's all.
But he was there on that day?
Yes.
What did he say when you mentioned Linda Stillwell?
That he drove from Portsea through St Kilda to the White Ensign Club for a couple of drinks on that day at that time.
Again, he was there at that time?
That's correct.
Do you believe Derek Percy abducted the Beaumont children?
Most definitely.
And do you believe Derek Percy murdered Simon Brooke?
I do, definitely.
And do you think Derek Percy abducted Linda Stillwell?
Oh, most definitely.
And that's your firm belief?
Yes.
Ron Anderson took notes of what Percy was telling him and gave them to detectives, but no action was taken on the other cases.
What do you feel about the families of these children?
Well, I never allowed myself to think about the families of the children. I think if I had, I would have. Sorry.
In Percy's naval locker, police found handwritten notes detailing his plans to abduct, torture and kill children.
He's told us in his filthy writings that this is what he wanted to do. Lure the children away, take them to a place, and then do these things to them.
His writings are too gruesome to broadcast, but the mutilation he planned is exactly what happened to Simon Brooke, the Wanda Beach victims, and later on Yvonne Tuohy, whose murder he was charged with.
The jury, however, when confronted with the photographs of what he did to that poor, terrified little girl, were so confronted that they reasoned that no sane man could have done what Derek Percy did. And so therefore, they saved him that short trip through the gallows. In those days, there was the death penalty, and they found him not guilty by reason of insanity.
Derek Percy has been in custody for the past 42 years. But last year, the Supreme Court of Victoria re-examined his sanity and found he suffers from no identifiable psychiatric disorder. That could make it easier for Percy to seek release from prison.
The problem at the moment is that he's not been convicted of any crime. And this means that at any time he could succeed in getting parole. And we believe it's most important that he should be convicted so that there is no prospect that he will ever do anything of the sort to another child.
To my darling Linda, it's been 43 years since you went out happily to play and didn't return. How I've wished time and time again that I could have protected you from the evil that took you that Saturday.
Last weekend, Linda Stillwell's family held a farewell for the beautiful daughter who was snatched from Luna Park.
I am told children go to another place, and I hope that's what you did.
A balloon for every year she's been missing.
We say goodbye with love, my darling, your family. We need a grave. We need somewhere that we can say, this was Linda, this was my daughter.
All these families have lost their children, and somebody has to be brought to justice for this. There is now enough evidence to convict, and we need to get Derek Percy to court.